This is teaching Bishop Willie Dixon over at Craft for a Generation Ministry. We coming to your home by DVD or by the way of the internet. We're glad to have this opportunity to minister to you today. We thank God for this opportunity. This is a Thanksgiving day. This is a day in which man had decided or determined to give thanks to God. One day set out of a year that we give thanks for the blessing, for the prosperity, for the good that we have, for people giving unto you or helping you, you helping them, and we took this day aside to give thanks. But I want to talk to you a few minutes about the power that bees. We know there's only one power that bees that is over all power. And we know all power had to come up under this power, which is God, which is Jesus Christ, which is the power of the Most High. And we know all other power had to come up under it. No other power exists unless this power, the power of God, permitted to be. But I want to talk to you a little while about the power that be on this earth. The power of man, the power that man done exalted over one another. All the hurt, the killing, the slavery, the mistreatment, the taking advantage of. And all this is did in a power and by power. And all of it really emanating from the devil, because it's a wicked, evil power. It's a power to a power that make you proud and boastful and greedy, and you want to be supreme. You want to rule everything. You want to be over everything. We see tragedy happen in our world. It ain't just started happening. It's been ever since man been up on the face of the earth. But you have a man that will rise with power to rule over his brother. We see a lot of killing and mistreatment in this country and in other countries abroad. And we wonder, why is this senseless killing? Why is this senseless mistreatment? Why is people starving to death senseless? And people prospering from their misery, prospering from their poverty. They make money off of them being poor, off of us being poor, off of the poor. It ain't a race thing, it ain't a class thing. But it is man dominate man for his own good. We see a lot of time a lot of violence take place in this country. And we wonder, how could it be? We seen what happened in Ferguson, Missouri, and in other part of the country. And we wonder, how can this happen? How can they treat people this way? And the law will acquit them, will not find people guilty. And we wonder why. Well, the people that doing this is people of power and authority, and they feel that they are supreme in their power. It ain't just the race of people. You have a few people that is leaders that done cover to be rich and rule the world. It ain't really got nothing to do with race. But this particular group of people done made a vow to rule and to dominate the world. And it don't care if it had to hurt his own people. But what they have did, it made a covenant, an agreement, and they sticking together. And they not going to trade one another for another man, for another race, for another group, for the poor. A greater power will never at any time yield to a lesser power. You will have to take power. They won't yield to a lesser power. You had to kill them out. They had to die out, but they will not yield to them. You didn't see picture how these people have an opportunity to change or to make a peace agreement or a peace alliance, but they'll rather just die before they do it. If they can't control absolutely, they'll rather not exist. And this is what you have when you see people being mistreated, and they use the law to get away with it. Well, this group of people done made a vow with each other that they gonna rule. and it takes unity to rule. They can't rule and suppress people or any people unless it's a unity among themselves. And they come with this agreement and they won't break it for anything. No matter what the law said, they would tell them make the law for themselves. It ain't just white people. You done had you had the English Empire that did that. You have the Roman Empire. You have every empire been on the face of the earth. You have had empire ruled by black folk that did the same thing. They wanted to rule at any cost. They wanted their people to be superior. They group, not necessarily their people, but the group that they're affiliated with, and they then made the pact. See, when they made slavery, not just on black, but slavery anywhere, the people that instituted slavery was people that wanted to be rich, people that wanted to have, and they they institutionalized slavery to make themselves rich. In a conquering nation, they feel like when they done conquer you, you less than they are. You don't have the power to defend yourself, and you cannot stand up against them. That's what make them conqueror. A conqueror is someone that subdue everything in their presence, that have power over everything and every situation they come in contact with, and they conquer it, and their subject cannot resist them. It'll take sometimes thousands of years for people to have the power to overturn the conqueror and to take back what belonged to them, or to live free of their conqueror. It takes sometimes thousands of years. The Roman Empire ruled for 2,000 or 3,000 years. The Egyptian Empire ruled the Great Pharaoh for about 3,000 years. You have the English Empire ruled for hundreds of years. And you have people of power. Hitler would have ruled the whole world if people hadn't unified, if the nation had not gathered themselves together and stood against this Hitler. This Hitler wanted to rule all men, and his group of people, the Nazi, were going to control everything. But you had the other people saying, the other nations said, we cannot allow this. We done seen this before. And we know the nature of this is to conquer. Hitler conquered other European, other people that were like him. But if they weren't in his group, if they weren't of the Nazi, he would subdue them to Poland and everybody else. He wanted to enslave England, America, and all other nations, France. Everybody didn't agree with him, didn't believe in him. And if he had been successful, the whole world, as we know, would have been subject to the Nazis, to their brutality, to their unjust rule, their unjust distribution of power. All this would have taken place. But you had people saying, we can't allow this. Even when you had civil rights, you had white people saying, look, this is wrong. But it's just a group of their own people that wanted to be rich. And what they did to keep power, they used propaganda against some that would listen, that were weak-minded, that didn't understand, and got them behind them. And they believe in the lie. They were just much taken advantage of as the slave or as the other people, because you had a group of people wanting to rule everything. And when they rule this, it ain't no sense of coming with logic, because they don't want to hear logic. You can come and you can be right and you can prove right, and it's still going to be in their favor because they were unfair from the door. They wanted to conquer and rule anyway, so your reason don't have anything to do with it. When you reason with them by killing an unarmed man in cold blood, and it is to no avail, well, you understand what nature they from. You understand that they're going to do their agenda regardless, and they don't care what nobody say. Now, it can be stopped when people say, as a whole, all people, black, poor, and all races say, well, we done had enough of this, and we're not going to endure any more of this in our society. And you stand up. You ain't got to go kill nobody. You ain't got to burn up nothing. You ain't got to loot nothing. But you stand up as a people. See, there's power in unity. And when you get the people that is right, the people that believe in right, the people that know right from wrong, stand up and say, this is enough. And it'll be enough. They won't accept. You see people from coast to coast because of what happened in Missouri, the style margin and letting you hear their voice because they're not pleased with what's going on. And they ain't got to burn or loot anything. But if they keep it up and say, look, we're not going to have any more of this. We know this is the nature of a conqueror that want things their way and don't care who they hurt. Don't care who they kill. They don't care what they take. But we got to realize that God is in charge over that power. See, after all power spoke, then God got to speak. The ultimate power, the real authority, the real judge, the righteous judge, the fair judge. And when he speak, it is so as he say. He let man run around and do his thing for a little while. But when the fullness of time comes, God will bring judgment upon the power that is. All great nations that we know of in our civilization done came and gone. They ruled for thousands of years, and all of a sudden they building is sitting and ruin now. We'll take some of the ruin of their building and put them in museum. We'll take some of them and make them sacred sites so people can go all over the world and see it. A kingdom that once had power and rule, but their time had ended. You don't have to worry about wrongness and mistreatment when you put it in the hand of the Lord. When you turn things over to God, that don't mean do nothing about it. That means you really finna get the job done when you put it in God's hand. When you allow God's judgment to rule in your decision, in what you do, in what you say, how you live. See, we're going to always have people that are going to rise up and want to dominate the world. It has been ever since it's been a world. And some of it is God will use it to punish the wicked, the evil. God have always took a nation after the flood to rule over another nation. God had always took a nation that is ruthless and killing up everybody and take another nation and rule over that nation to bring justice and judgment in this earth. At one time, God destroyed the world because he was sick of what was going on. It hurt him and grieved him to his heart of the madness that man was doing upon the face of the earth. The spirit, the angel that sinned it and didn't keep their first commandment, their first assignment, they came down and do what they wanted to do. And they brought more sin and chaos to the world, and God destroyed it. Well, God gonna do the same thing today. When sin reaches maturity, then God put the hammer on it. See, God is the ultimate power. I don't care how much injustice you see. But when you get a people crying out, as the Hebrew did when they were in Egypt, and they cried out by the reason of their taskmaster, by the reason of those that had put taxes upon them, that had conquered them, and brought them in a nation, and used them as servants, took every human right that they had. The only right that they had was to do what the Pharaoh wanted them to do and be pleased and be happy and be satisfied with it. That's what their only right. No matter how much one said, but if one of those Hebrew had to harm an Egyptian, they were going to be put to death or beat or in prison, no matter if the Egyptian were wrong. Well, it's the same way today, the power that be, that controlling everything. If you come against them and you hurt one of those or one of theirs, then they gonna stand against you and they're gonna stack the deck against you. If they harm one of yours for no reason, because they are in power and conqueror over you, then it's not anything you can do. I see people have a man like a lamb and he guard his house. But if a greater power come and subdue that lamb, I don't care how great that lamb is, you can take his female and his family and do what you want with it because you done subdued him. And that's what happened when slavery came, a greater power, and again, it ain't just black, it's all over, it have been all over the world. A greater power will rule a lesser power, a lesser nation, of people that could not defend themselves. And they were taken away into captivity to serve them. The Roman Empire was conquering people and bring them up under their power, and they would rule them. They took the Jews, left them in their own nation, and that was a common thing back then for conquerors to do, to leave in your own nation, to govern your own self, but while they had the authority over you, while they had power over you, you were actually under their rulership. Apostle Paul's parents bought citizenship from the Romans. They were Jews. So when Paul got beat for no reason, him and Silas got beat, Paul used the trump card that he was part of the Roman Empire. He was a Roman citizen, and they had to give him justice. Well, the people that did him wrong were Greeks, if I'm not mistaken. But they were under the authority of the Roman, and they could not come against the authority of the Roman Empire. So they had, according to the Roman law, let Paul and Silas go. And Paul was a Jew that was a Roman citizen. If you're a citizen of that great power, and that power favor you, anybody outside of that power do you wrong, that great power will deal with them because you was a part of them, and they showing their power. But what they done did is left you in your own country, in your own nation. It's all the way through Africa, all the way through Africa. It was like that with the English. They had came and subdued Africa, and they colonized Africa, took all the gold, all the good from it, and put them in poverty. And they are in poverty to this day. And they colonized them, even when they did away with selling souls, selling a man, and did away with organized slavery. They still had power over the Africa continent, and they still got wealth. And they didn't have to enslave people to get the wealth because they had already conquered the people. So this trick is older than the world itself. The great gonna rule over the lesser. The one with the greater arm force, with the greater power, with the greater economical muscles, gonna rule everybody else. And they're not gonna let people less than them come in and overrule what they do, because they are in authority and they are your master in their mind, according to them and according to the power they have over you. It have always been that way in this earth. And we need that. The only hope for man, it ain't political, it ain't the state, it wasn't the king giving you power, it wasn't the Catholic Church, it wasn't the archbishop. It have always been God is the only hope for man. The only true, fair, righteous judge is God. And it have always been that way. And if we want fairness, if we want justice, if we want peace, we're going to have to get it through Jesus Christ. We're going to have to preach this gospel. See, this gospel is the key. That's why Jesus called it the good news. It was good news that man could be delivered and be free of his burden, be free of his hardship, be free of his suffering, and be free of the oppression of other over them, or other power. The devil is a power. When you see a great power on this earth, they have yielded to Satan, to the prince and the principality of the air, to the power of the air, to the God of this world, or to the gods of this world. And that's why they behave the way they do. If we don't get this gospel out and preach in this generation, you're going to always have poverty. The gospel of the kingdom come against poverty and sickness and disease and sin and wickedness and people making themselves king over you and killing you to make a wealth, to make a profit, killing you to be somebody, killing you to be a people. You get a people, they come out of a people and rule over people, and they're going to rule over you as long as we allow them to. But when we stand up, when we get some God in this generation, when we get some righteousness in this generation, it's going to change things. It's going to turn things around.